Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
All right. Good evening, everybody. It's Sunday night. It's 8 o'clock. As always, it is time for episode 324 of the Ron and Brian podcast. It is our favorite time of the year, Brian. It is postseason baseball time. Amazing win by the Phillies. Comeback win over the Mets a little earlier this evening. Yankees winning game one. Brian, how the hell are you? Are you as pumped up as I am?
So excited. It's the time of year where I truly feel like I have fallen out of step with the sports world. Everybody is talking about NFL. You open up your ESPN app and college football is all over the place. They're talking WNBA when I go to ESPN.com. Playoff baseball has just been knocked all the way down. Playoff. But listen, this is the most exciting time of the year for me as a sports fan. It gives me the opportunity to root for my Yankees, who are almost always in the playoffs, while at the same time giving me a chance to trash talk any other team that I don't like and don't want to root for. But the stakes are so high. This is, you're seeing some of the best teams that are left. The quality of play is so high. You can't afford to make mistakes at this point. Just like episode 324 of the Ron and Brian show. Mistakes, they can't take place anymore. You should have worked that out. You should have worked it out years ago. We have
323 episodes to work out all the mistakes. No more from this point forward. But you know what we can do moving forward is we can have our drink of the week.
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud. Drink of the week.
Pleasure.
Pause. Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
So what are you drinking this week, Brian? I'm assuming maybe like a Robitussin porter, maybe a Benadryl wit beer. What do you have?
I'm drinking water again. I was drinking water last week. I'm not feeling the alcohol. I'm not feeling 100%. Therefore, why take the risk? Why put alcohol into my system? I've seen the comments online. I've seen the comments of like, hey, you guys can only perform under the influence. You guys are promoting alcoholism week after week after week. But I'm here to show you, episode 324, I can be 100% on H2O. So that's what I'm rocking this week. And I'm going to show you that I can deliver.
Let's have a sip. Now, is this straight from the tap? Is this pure, unadulterated West New York, New Jersey water? Or is this through some kind of fancy ivory tower filtration system?
It goes through a Brita filter. I have to admit, listen, I grew up in New York City, so to me, tap water has always been a beverage of for the elite. I am in West New York now, so my expectations are slightly dipped. But one thing I'm definitely doing, putting that through the Brita, getting it nice and crisp, nice and filtered. Not really sure it's filtered. It's not really the right phrase, but it goes through like those little charcoal chunks or whatnot. Sure. And that's what I'm rocking. So I'm drinking water this week. I got water here. I got water there. What are you drinking, Ron?
So I was out at the store earlier tonight at a different Giant than normal, which has an excellent beer selection. So I did a little pick six out of their Lucy bin there. So I grabbed a little Rogue Brewing. This is Bat Squatch. It is a hazy Indian Pale IPA, 12 ounces. It is 6.7% alcohol. I also realized reading the can earlier, I need to get better glasses because on the bottom it says white cheddar, grilled salmon, and strawberry shortcake. And I'm like, those are some disgusting flavor profiles for this to have. But it says you should pair it with items.
Yeah.
You should pair it with. So anyway,
Let's see.
hazy.
Let's see it.
Hazy is correct. You can't see through that. Oh, it smells citrusy. It's got a great nose feel.
Take a sip. Take a sip.
Hold on.
You haven't even sipped it yet. You're just, look at this.
Oh.
All right.
Ow.
Walk me through this. What are you tasting? What are you experiencing?
So it is very citrusy. I'm getting the pine. I'm getting a little bitterness there. It is. I'm going to say I'm not always in the mood for an IPA, but I like this. This is very good.
You're always in the mood for an IPA. I think you've been drinking IPA every now and then. You slip in a porter, but I would say you are good for at least 45 IPAs a year on the show.
I don't know. I would argue that, but I'm not going to argue with you, Brian, because you're ill and you can't defend yourself. I get it.
Oh, I'm mad ill.
All right, let's keep going now with the week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
I'm going to follow up. This is part 2 of my bout with pneumonia. You know, Ron, I've been feeling like shit for most of this week. It's continuing.
Yeah.
I'm getting tired of it. I'm not 100%. I feel weak in general. Doctor said I should be feeling better after, 3 to 5 days. Not feeling that much better. I mean, I'm not feeling as bad as I did before, but,
right.
Every day this week, I got out of work, went home, immediately took a nap on the couch. I'm not a nap on the couch guy,
You're not.
Out cold, needed a nap. But what truly is concerning me is the tinnitus in the ear. I am hearing you out of my right ear. I cannot hear you in my left ear. It is, I can even take this off and I'm still going to hear you exactly the same. I did have an ear infection, was diagnosed with it. Don't know how long this ringing in my ear is going to go. I literally can't hear out of my left ear. I was at a mall yesterday with the lady and she tried walking on my left. I literally had to scoot behind her so I could hear her talk in the loud mall. I'm going to a hearing specialist tomorrow. I will hopefully have better news. But this current state of deafness is it's really my biggest complaint going on right now. I mean, I know that other people are having it worse right now, but listen, if I have the opportunity to complain about my body, I'm going to. And this week, that is my complaint: is my hearing, my pneumonia, my body, and at the end of the day, really myself.
Now, you're supposed to be traveling outside of the country later this week. Do you think your medical conditions might end up preventing that?
I will. I will ask the doctor tomorrow, and then I'm going back to urgent care on Wednesday for a follow-up just to see the lungs. I will be asking both of them what their opinion is, but the correct answer is going to be you go take that trip. There's not much you can do.
I mean, the ear thing, I'm just thinking of the pressure as you take off and land in planes and whatnot.
Oh, it's going to suck. It's going to fucking suck. 6 hours. I might have to start drinking.
There you go.
Ron.
Yes,
Ron.
my friend. Yes.
What's bugging you?
Well, I think you joined me on my beef this week. So my lady and I had the pleasure of heading up to West New York, New Jersey this Friday night. We headed into the city. We had tickets to see Dave Hill at the Soho Playhouse for his one-man residency that he is doing there. So we were looking for a place to have a nice meal prior to the show, and we picked Budokan by Chelsea Market, which we have been to the Budokan in Philadelphia numerous times. When you mentioned you hadn't been to Budokan, we're like, we need to go experience this. So we made 8:30 dinner reservations, knowing that we had to go catch a 10 p.m. show a few minutes away from the restaurant. So we go in there, we check in, we get there a little early, say, hey, if anything opens up, please feel free to let us know and seat us. And they were like, all right, just go up into the bar area. And it's like, all right, do we get a buzzer? Do you take our number to text us? They're like, oh, we'll just find you. Like, we literally sat there for how long? Half hour, 45 minutes? Waiting for our table.
We got there. We got there at 8:15, and they called us. It was probably 8:50 for an 8:30 reservation.
That's bad enough. But in the meantime, like, we're literally watching the hosts walk around with like slips of paper, trying to figure out who they had to seat. Like, literally, if like it was a two-top, they'd go up to every couple they saw and be like, "Oh, are you so and so? No, okay. Are you so and so? No, okay." And then every four-top, same thing. Oh, are you is this you? Horrible system to try and figure out how to pick out who is being seated where.
It was chaos. I mean, for lack of chaos. The thing is this: we live in an age where you can. It's fairly common, even at places that are not fancy. And I would describe this as a fancy place, or at least by my standards. Where you leave a cell phone number and they text you when your table is ready. It exists. It is not a high technology option out there. The fact that the system for seating is just to have this staff member walking around with a little ticket in their hand, walking up to people, being like, "Treya, party of two? No."
Okay, thanks.
Treya, party of two? No, two? No.
And I get where they don't want to have like the buzzers like Applebee's and Chili's use. But
I get it.
Point, it's so easy to text people and just be like, "Hey, your table's ready." Should have just went to Waffle House. Good call. Janelle saying Budokan is overrated. I like the food. I did not like the atmosphere. I prefer Budokan Philadelphia much better.
How's the atmosphere different in Philadelphia?
So in Philly, it is not pitch black, and it does not resemble like a nightclub or a rave. Like, there is ambiance, music in the background, but not where we're trying to have a conversation and you end up just yelling at each other. How's the spray of soy sauce all over your lady there?
Yeah, let's just say your wife is a messy eater. Let's just put it this way. Mrs. Ron, messy eater.
So what it's funny, so we ordered some dim sum as an appetizer. My wife took a bite into one of the dumplings, which, as it turns out, probably was a soup dumpling, literally sprayed, I think, all of the soup from the dumpling all over Mrs. Bryan. It was brutal. It was funny because we went out for dim sum again tonight at a restaurant the Jardis recommended, and it tells you in the menu, like, this is a soup dumpling, like, puncture it with your chopstick, drink the soup out, then eat the dumpling. I think that was the mistake she made.
Yes, she was not careful. However, I would also point out that the other three people at the table ate the same soup dumpling and didn't explode all over. I mean, it's just a matter of being careful, how you eat. Your wife was not careful, and my lady has some dry cleaning to drop off tomorrow.
Apologies for that.
I will say this: I like the place. I just felt I wish I wasn't in a rush.
Right.
Because I think I would have much more enjoyed sitting and having a drink and relaxing. If without any kind of time constraint, I wouldn't have minded the reservation system they had, so long as I was able to relax. Instead, I was nervous, anxious, getting annoyed. I may have pissed off a couple members of the wait staff, possibly. And then also it was, by the time we did order the food, it was kind of like, all right, when are you going to bring the lobster fried rice? Is that coming out anytime soon? Like, just because had we had another hour, I think I would have been quite happy with it. And I would have been fine with the baby. I would have been happy with that kind of vibe. As a change, I'm not a rave guy. I'm not a nightclub guy. So every now and then it's nice to take the lady out for a different kind of environment.
You used to be a big Studio 54 guy.
Listen,
you were doing a lot of coke back then, though.
So those stories
ended up stopped going.
The stories they tell of Grace Jones and Elton John when they would sit there and there would be humans, acting as coke trays, where you would have a naked boy. Myself. It was my first job, so I didn't know that it was out of the ordinary. But I would get oiled up, naked. I would walk around the floor of Studio 54 on all fours with a silver tray affixed to my back with a mound of cocaine. And, I would literally just walk around and people would come up and do a little snoot off the tray as I made my way across. Listen, I made a lot of money in tips. I was sexually violated a few times, but I'm going to tell you something. Back then, the times were different.
It really was.
When you're oiled up and walking around on all fours, you have to expect that things are going to be inserted inside of your rectum. That's the way. That's how I was brought up. That's the way they told me when I was going through my employee training. All employees of Studio 54 had to go through that 40-hour training course. And they said, listen, if you are one of the coke boys, you are going to have things inserted into your rectum. Please make sure that you properly enema before your shift starts. So this way, when those items are taken out of your rectum, they come out the same way they came in. It was the campfire rule. They said it was the Boy Scouts,
Sure.
Leave it exactly the way it was. So, I had my temperature taken, practically every 15 minutes. And it was it's made every job since just, that much more
much
common.
Better in comparison. I understand.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right, moving on. We've got our stories of the week, Brian. These are the stories we want to make sure we don't miss out on sharing with you folks. What's the story of the week that you're bringing to the table?
Listen, my story of the week takes us to Pasadena, California, with my new favorite street artist / criminal, the Piss Bandit. Okay, people, the Piss Bandit.
What's that bandit's name again?
The Piss Bandit, PISS Bandit. Now, when one thinks of a bandit, one would think of someone who is showing up and taking.
Right.
Not the Piss Bandit. The Piss Bandit is more of a Robin Hood of human urine. The Piss Bandit is I don't want to call him a criminal because I'm not sure he's actually committing a crime. However, there is a utility box in Pasadena, California, where I believe this has been going on for over a year. Every few days, a mysterious figure in a mask and latex gloves carries bottles of urine, carefully arranges them on a utility box, and then vanishes in the night. I stand corrected. This has been going on for 6 years. They have staked out the utility box, and the Piss Bandit does not show up. So he's very cagey. Knows when he's being looked at. Marks these bottles, as you can see in the picture. For those of you who are watching on video, these bottles are marked human waste, human urine. They are of varying degrees of dehydration, as you can see in the picture. Some are rather see-through. One of those on the right kind of looks like your beer, I hate to say, Ron.
It's a little hazy.
A little hazy.
And the one next to it looks a little, there's some chunkiness in the bottom that's kind of...
that is, I believe it's a kidney stone. But the Piss Bandit, they cannot catch this person. Local officials installed a cap on top of that which was a four-sided kind of peak that to have slanted surfaces so that the piss bandit could not leave these bottles of urine on top of. And what did the piss bandit do? Truly a man of the people, he was able to rip off that cap so this way he could continue putting his carefully, they say, it's different types. Sometimes it's jugs, bottles, whatnot, all filled with human urine. And some people in the local community are cheersing this person, saying that, this is like a street art installation. Other people, city officials and some of the more affluent members of Pasadena saying that this is disgusting and this person needs to be arrested and sent to jail. I don't know where you stand on this issue, Ron, but I'm just saying that if the Piss Bandit is watching this show right now, we would love to have you come on next week and talk about this project that you're working on. We find it fascinating.
So I will say this. I feel, if you can't leave bottles of urine out in public, are we truly free as a country? I mean, it is a victimless crime. He's nice enough to label it as human urine.
Sure.
We'll agree with Johanna. The red one in the back is the most disconcerting. There's I guess it's third from the left. Looks like apple cider. Yeah. I think, yes, you should definitely go to the doctor, hydrate better if your urine looks like this. But I'm all for it.
I would even ask Mr. Saletti, who works construction in New Jersey. I mean, piss bottles are quite common on construction sites. You don't necessarily have a working bathroom on every floor of a construction site. So I've noticed, at certain jobs over the years, not my current company, we do things properly, but previous companies I've worked for, it is quite common to find a Snapple bottle with a yellowish substance, is
it possible that the Piss Bandit is a Amazon driver? Because I know they too have to piss in a lot of bottles during the week to make those deliveries.
It's possible. What they're saying is that these bottles do appear overnight. So this is a wild story. We will be staying in touch with this story. I will be setting up a Google alert for Piss Bandit. I might be getting some Japanese movies that have a
odds are with that kind of Google alert, you're going to get a lot of interest.
I will be creating a Google alert for Piss Bandit. We will be providing updates.
All right. My story this week, Brian, I picked for a couple of reasons. Number one, it almost fell under fuck around and find out, which we'll have a couple stories under that category later. But I know, Brian, one of your favorite locations in Philadelphia is an area that we refer to as Kensington. And this past week, Brian, there was a 16-year-old boy in Kensington who was shot when he attempted to rob a man using a fake gun. According to the Philadelphia police, the incident happened as a 21-year-old man was walking along Emerald Street in Kensington about 11 o'clock last Sunday night. He was approached by two would-be robbers, including a 16-year-old boy who pressed what he told the victim was a gun to the man's back and told him he was being robbed. The boy told the victim to turn over his keys, wallet, and any other valuables that he had on him. At this point, the victim began to produce all of these items demanded by the robbers. After he did that, he also pulled out the legal firearm that he was in possession of, shooting the 16-year-old boy once in the leg. The other robber escaped on foot. The boy was taken to a nearby hospital where he was being treated for a gunshot wound to the leg and was listed in stable condition. And the police did recover a toy handgun, which they believe was used in the attempted robbery.
So what do you think you're really trying to say about Philadelphia, specifically Kensington?
I don't know that I'm saying anything about Philadelphia or Kensington. I'm just saying in this day and age, may not be the best plan to try and rob someone with a fake gun, because odds are so good these days that that person is going to be carrying a real gun. So this 16-year-old, he fucked around and he found out.
Do we mourn his death or no?
Well, he wasn't killed. He was just shot in the leg.
God damn it. He could have bled out. They could have hit an artery.
Nothing like that. He apparently recovered in the hospital and released, and will be charged as a juvenile.
It's slightly disappointing. Not gonna lie.
So this guy carrying the firearm, he can't miss. Brian, you know who else can't miss? You and I when it comes to locks of the week.
Locks.
I got to say it, Brian. Despite your illness, you were feverish last week, lungs filled with fluid. You were looking at those picks. You looked at Minnesota +1 against the Jets, and you were like, you know what? Don't believe the hype. The Jets are as bad as they always have been. You nailed that one. Minnesota wins 23-17. You saw Seattle versus the Giants. You said, you know what? I think the Giants have a shot this week. I'm a big Danny Dimes fan. They're getting +5.5. They went outright 29-20 against Seattle Seahawks, bringing your record to a solid 10-0 in this week 5 of the NFL season. Kudos to you, my friend.
Listen, I would love to take credit for it, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to keep up with you, Ron. You went 2-0 this week, bringing your record to 10-0. You took the Broncos -1 over the Raiders, knowing that Las Vegas was depleted, not just in terms of talent, but also motivation. Broncos winning the whole game 34-18. Additionally, the Commanders, you jumped on that early line of Commanders +1.5 over the Browns. Commanders easily win by 21 points, 34-13. Is this the year that the Commanders finally shed the memory of Dan Snyder? It could be. Ron, how do you keep doing this? Another 2-0 week.
Listen, again, you motivate me to be the best person I can be in so many ways, not just NFL picks. But Brian, as we go into a holiday weekend coming up, who do you like in week 6 for the NFL?
This week, I like a couple teams that should have easy time defeating their opponents this week. I like San Francisco 49ers. They lost this week to Arizona, maybe, I think. Laying 3 over the Seahawks. Seahawks were devastatingly embarrassing against the Giants this week. 49ers only laying 3 on that early line. Bet it early, bet it often. Also, Lions, Detroit, -3 over the Cowboys. We all saw what Detroit is capable of. They are the real deal. Follow me. You should be able to comfortably cash those 2 tickets. Ron?
Yes.
Who do you like?
I like Washington, for whatever reason, not getting a ton of respect from the odds makers just yet. They are +7 versus the Ravens. Ravens struggled to beat a not so great Bills team this week. So I like Washington plus the points. And then Philly, coming off of their bye week, -7 versus the Cleveland Browns, getting pummeled by those Washington Commandos today. I like the Eagles coming back after their most recent loss, a week of rest. -7 seems like a good line to me.
I like it. I like it. Listen, people, and also, as always, bet with your head, not over it. This thing that we do with these NFL picks, I know a lot of people have reached out to us on social media, emails, direct messages, tweets, whatnot, and basically said, listen, you guys are just clearly printing money. I am going to refinance my mortgage. I'm going to take out all equity, and I'm going to follow your picks for the rest of the season. We're not saying that is a fiscally responsible decision. Not saying that you are going to be able to take down Vegas with our picks. We are just providing you some guidelines. It's your responsibility how you behave once you take in this information we're putting out there. We're not responsible. Ron, if I'm not correct, the last time you lost a lock of the week, I believe that it was 1987. Reagan was president, and you thought that the New Jersey sack exchange was going to go on forever. You remember Mark Gastineau,
Yep.
Joe Klecko?
ago, I couldn't remember the nickname. So thank you for bringing that back around. Yeah, I thought Klecko, Gastineau, Broadway Joe. I mean, it was an empire back then, without a doubt.
Absolutely. But congratulations again, 2-0. I feel good about our picks this coming week.
All right, same here. Let's get into some of the stories we have here. We are going down to, I'm going to guess, Texas. Is this story correct? Let me take a look here. Doesn't really. Yes, it was Waxahachie, Texas. I know there's a pro wrestler that used to be billed from Waxahachie, Texas, and I know Billy will be able to remind me in the comments who that was. But it's just outside Dallas, and there apparently was an auction this past week. Someone who paid $4,000 for an autographed Taylor Swift guitar. He won it. He paid his $4,000 only to take a hammer to it. Dirty Dick Murdoch. That is from Waxahachie, which I'm sure I'm not pronouncing right, but I knew there was a wrestler from Waxahachie, Texas. Anyway, this guy claiming he is a Trump supporter, and that is why he broke the guitar after paying $4,000 for it. Now, however, he has put the broken guitar up on eBay to try and raise money for a local youth charity. And right now, the listing was at $2,800 as of early Wednesday.
So shouldn't this guy have just donated the $4,000 to this charity? Like this is the shit that just bothers me, is the fact that the likelihood that this man over the past month has been posting on his Facebook page about how Sleepy Joe and Communist Kamala, and their inability to manage the economy are causing him to struggle to be able to afford groceries week in, week out. He's probably going to say how he had to, let go some of his employers as he's a job creator. And then suddenly he's sitting there throwing out there that he's got $4,000 to just waste at an auction so he can, do his little big boy dance, how he's upset about Taylor Swift not liking Trump.
Yeah, it's an interesting story, to say the least. And to your point, much better ways that money could have been used. What's interesting, though, is they're listing this, claiming that it has been authenticated with Taylor Swift's signature. However, her merchandise company has since come out stating that they have not authenticated the instrument. I'm sure probably just somebody sitting in the back copying Taylor's autograph onto it before it was auctioned off.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good signature. That was definitely Taylor Swift. She definitely signed that guitar.
You've got that Texas accent down. I mean, kudos. You've been working on it.
Some people call that a sling blade.
I reckon. So, Brian, I know you weren't following this story about the Crumbl Cookie pop-up in Sydney, Australia. I started seeing videos about this on TikTok, and it just blew my mind. Are you familiar with Crumbl Cookies? Do you have them up your way?
I have heard of them. I do not believe I've ever had a Crumbl Cookie. However, my knowledge base of Crumbl Cookie is I saw something on Instagram about a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, where they were advertising some kind of like brownie cupcake or cheesecake brownie, whatnot. And the person was going through the nutritional statistics on it. And it was like 1,000 calories. It was like 300 grams of saturated fat. Like it literally was an incredible ad for diabetes and obesity. Like there's absolutely no reason that something that is being sold to the general public is so incredibly unhealthy for you that the FDA is not taking any steps of sitting there saying, like, this is not something we should be making for the mass public. But apparently, I think they're wildly here. Janelle says she had it recently and she enjoyed it. Have you? I've not had. I don't even know if there is. Like, I'm sure there's one in the city. Ron, you've had one. I take it.
I've had them. We have one nearby. And again, it's not something you want to have that often. I mean, they can be a little thick, they can be a little sweet, which really is how I refer to you quite often. But they're also very tasty, which, come to think of it, I refer to you that way as well. So apparently there was an alleged pop-up of Crumbl Cookies that was supposed to be taking place in North Bondi. And so people lined up, like there were lines about an hour long outside this spot, this sign. So it looks legit. It looks like this is Crumbl Cookie. They are using the Crumbl font, the Crumbl logo. They have Crumbl Cookie flavors. The boxes were the Crumbl Cookie boxes. And they were selling these cookies for $17.50 each. So they are about $4 and change if you get them individually.
Yeah.
So they get there and everybody was very excited. Everyone thinking that this was actual Crumbl,
legit,
but it was not Crumbl Cookies. It was a couple of people that flew to the U.S., bought like 700 cookies from the store in Hawaii and sold them upon their return to Sydney. And so but the thing is they stole these trademarks. They made an Instagram account with the handle @Crumbl AUS. And people were commenting, they're like, yeah, these cookies are kind of stale. But the organizers kept saying, yeah, we're not Crumbl, we're just big fans. So now everybody is waiting for this huge lawsuit that is inevitably going to come out when Crumbl decides to defend their whatchamacallit, their trademarks.
I'm assuming that they're not still selling these cookies.
It was a 1 day only deal, and they are claiming that they did not make money at this, even though they sold all of the cookies at $17 and change. They continue to defend themselves by saying, that because of the cost, the import cost, everything else. But yeah, it's going to be, and apparently it wasn't. People thought, okay, maybe they flew in that day and they're doing it. No, they had them there for a week before they started selling them to the public.
Really?
Yeah. So at that point, like, the one thing I will say about Crumbl Cookies, you don't want to let them sit for more than a day or two, because
what happens if you do?
They just dry out. There's so much moisture in them that once that moisture goes away, just very dry and stale. Okay. But it's just amazing to me the fact that people were like, we can use this logo and this name, right? No one's gonna notice anything differently.
That's wild to me that somebody would think they can do that.
Wild, wacky stuff, that is. Brian, Hurricane Helene, a lot of follow-up still going on from Hurricane Helene. The biggest death toll, I think you said, is now registered by this.
Oh, it is. This is the second deadliest storm in the past, I think, 20 years or so, since Hurricane Katrina. I think Hurricane Katrina, we'll never know how many people truly died during that. I believe the number was about 700-800 in that disaster. But, this was a storm that really, everybody was thinking was going to, hit strongly in the Tallahassee area. But it was just, the North Carolina, Georgia, that alley right up north from the Panhandle just is not meant, they clearly could not handle that amount of water that was just dumped on them by this hurricane. The number of people that have been wiped out, the number of towns that have been devastated, the number of there are still places that do not have electricity. This has been going on for over a week. And in true American fashion, it has become a political, hot potato, as the right have taken to social media to point out that FEMA is offering $750 debit cards to people who have been affected by this. Meanwhile, we are sending billions of dollars off to Ukraine. that FEMA is telling these hurricane survivors, telling them that they've run out of money because the illegal migrants, the migrants that are seeking asylum, they're not illegal. I don't want to be accused of being insensitive here. But the fact that are you okay? Because you look like you're in the middle of something.
I'm having some power issues here that I'm trying to correct. So
I'll keep talking. I'll keep talking because clearly you're not participating anymore. So, but the far right has truly turned. I'll just keep talking, Ron. I've done the show by myself. I've been able to make it past 58 minutes. But the ability of the right to have turned this into a political event, to sit there and say, hey, there are, Americans that are truly hurting right now. How can I turn this to political gain? The election is, a little bit over a month away. How can I somehow spin this into Donald Trump being, somebody who would handle this situation better? Keep in mind how he handled Puerto Rico when they had that devastating hurricane.
You toss some paper towels at people, and that's all you need to do.
He was taking layups with the bounty, but somehow it's not even the far right. I mean, the number of people that I would consider just on the right who have turned this into a political spin is it's just sad. It's sad to me because there are Americans who are truly hurting. There are Americans that are dead, families that have been disrupted, homes that are just memories that have just been completely wiped away in mud and sludge and debris and whatnot. And that there are people in this country who are sitting there saying, hey, how can I turn this into something that, can make me look like I'm, a hero on social media? They're not getting on planes. They're not flying down. They're not volunteering. They're not helping. They're just sitting on their keyboard and typing away on Facebook about, Sleepy Joe Biden's FEMA not there for America when we need it. Like,
but it's just amazing because, and we've talked about this before, like, the GOP, the right is the party of small government. So most of the time, these people don't want government involved in their lives until something bad happens. And then they're like, oh, well, now we expect the government to swoop in and pick us up off our feet. But what also has been going on is a number of AI deepfakes of supposed Hurricane Helene victims circulating on social media. One example that they showed is this child, apparently a child in a life jacket, holding a dog as rain from the storm continues to drench them. Now, what I don't get is how anyone sees this photo and doesn't realize it's an AI.
Right. Because of the blurry background or just the...
Well, I think just the features on the child do not look... it does not look realistic.
Right.
She also has 6 fingers on the one hand. If you notice the hand holding the dog, there's a secret 6th finger in between the middle finger and the ring finger.
So you're telling me that somebody is out there making AI pictures of hurricane victims and then posting it as legitimate survivors of Hurricane Helene?
Hold on,
that's disgusting. That's terrible. Ron, I would rather your participation in the show than sitting there telling me what else you're going to put on the screen. This is chump. This is Bush League. Okay, you're better than this, Ron. You're better than just tapping out on this show. I'll be brutally honest with you if it makes you guys feel better. Ron just left because fuck him. We don't need him. Is that I fell victim to that photo. I remember seeing the first victor. I saw a photo of that girl holding up her little puppy and giving him a kiss on the back of her head. Could have been a female puppy. I don't know why I'm assuming gender on that. The dog. She was kissing the little dog. I thought it was a legitimate photo. I did not recognize it as AI right off the bat. I mean, now that you're showing it to me here, and I'm looking at it from a little bit of a more questioning filter. Yeah, it's a little. Certain aspects of that photo are so crystal clear in terms of not accuracy. That's not the word.
Well, and apparently
quality.
Senator Mike Lee of Utah was amongst those who fell for the photo, sharing it on Twitter Thursday and writing, quote, caption this photo. He later deleted it after users pointed out that the image was fake. Another Facebook user fell for it as well, sharing it with the caption, "Dear God, help our babies and their families." This is going to be a problem as AI gets better. I mean, we've seen photos and videos that are getting much more realistic. And I think the age of disinformation is only just going to continue to grow as this moves forward.
Yeah, it's sad. It's very sad. And there's not much we can do about it. I mean, it is just out of our control.
So if this ever got to a point where we just didn't need to do a podcast anymore, we could just let AI generate a podcast for us. Would you be okay with that?
I'd be okay with you being AI and me interacting with.
Really? Am I that problematic?
No, but sometimes you just tap out in the middle of a show. I mean, we know that AI would never do that. AI would never sit there and go, my headphones aren't working. I'm just going to back out of the show. At which point, just leaving you completely.
I don't know. I have to figure it out. My phone. Oh, Brian just jumped out as well.
Now you know how it feels. Now you know how it feels.
All right. Let's move on to our next set of stories. It's been a while since we've gone to this.
It's been a while.
Sorry,
but the drag queens are the problem, Brian. We've got two stories this week, both equally disturbing. We will start by going down I think this was California. A retired LA County deputy sheriff and his nephew allegedly kidnapped a vulnerable 14-year-old girl, doped her up with methamphetamine, and sexually molested her. Former lawman Benny Vicente Kalua, age 68, and his 49-year-old nephew, Clifford Abahi, are accused of taking the teenager off the streets as she walked alone in the city of Lancaster on August 27th or 28th. Prosecutors said the girl was then given meth and taken to Kalua's home, where the one-time deputy allegedly molested the youngster. Kalua, who retired from the force in 2001, was charged with a felony count of lewd act upon a child age 14 or 15, while both are also charged with felony counts of sale or furnishing a controlled substance to a minor. They were arraigned on charges and freed on bail. Kaluuya freed on $250,000 bail. His nephew, $100,000 bond. They face up to 9 years in prison if convicted.
Yeah. Utterly disgusting behavior.
Yes, agreed. Next story comes from Texas. This is a Texas team who she was sex trafficked after being abducted from an NBA game. She revealed the horrific week of abuse she endured when she was transported 200 miles from her home, raped and featured in a online sex act. Natalie Kramer was only 15 when she and her dad, Kyle Morris, attended a Mavericks game at American Airlines Center in Dallas back on April 8th, 2022. She admitted at the time she was using marijuana and alcohol to cope with anxiety that she had. She told her father that she was going to the bathroom during the game, but never returned to her seat. The teen left her phone behind, had made eye contact with her future abductor, Emmanuel Cartagena, on the arena's concourse. He mentioned to her that he did smoke, had weed in his car, where they met a second person. She was then abducted and held for several days before she was handed over to a different group in Oklahoma. Just a horrible story.
Horrible story. But it's just the idea, people, is that, a lot of these, you hear the stories of sex trafficking, and it is so common, at least, as somebody who's not involved in that trade under any circumstances, you immediately start to think of, people that are being trafficked from one country to another, that this is something that happens to, people who are, being, brought to America to be part of the sex trade and whatnot. Here, literally, is a girl who went to a basketball game with her father.
Right.
That's the level of, and she's basically kidnapped, but it's by somebody who she goes along with. She left the arena with this complete stranger, went to his car thinking the two of them were going to, smoke marijuana. And suddenly there's a third person waiting in the car. I mean, you literally, this happens in America. This happens to all different peoples of socioeconomic configurations. And literally it could be, I'm taking my child to a sporting event. You got to keep an eye on him. You can't just let them, walk off, because, bad things can happen just about anywhere, even in Philadelphia. You just, as a parent, it's one of the things I got to say. I'm not cut out to be a parent. To sit there and let your 15-year-old just, listen, I'm feeling a little anxious. I'm going to go take a walk around the arena, and this is something you have to worry about. It's just, it's scary. It's really fucking scary.
So she was eventually rescued in Oklahoma City.
OKLAHOMA, Oklahoma. Sorry.
8 people were arrested and later sentenced for their role in the trafficking. Cartagena was arrested by U.S. Marshals in January of 2023. He was charged with sexual assault of a child, but a Dallas County grand jury decided not to prosecute him based on the evidence.
Scary. Fucking scary. Absolutely scary.
But as we always say, Brian, it's the drag queens.
What do we say, Ron?
We say it's the drag queens.
I know.
We are the drag. So what else we got this week, Brian?
Ron, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question, Ron?
Yes.
What are you watching?
What am I watching? Continuing to watch The Real Murders on Elm Street on ID Channel and Max. Good stuff so far. Oh, we tried to watch that new movie on Apple TV with Brad Pitt and George Clooney, Wolves.
No?
Turned it off after a half hour. Very slow. Very predictable.
It is. If you enjoyed the dynamic of the on-screen chemistry between Clooney and Pitt, you will enjoy this movie. If you are watching it for any other reason, you're not going to get it. Disagree.
I enjoyed them in story. Nice use of that clip, by the way. I enjoyed them in Ocean's 11.
So did I. And that's
12,
what I like.
13,
and I enjoyed this movie.
82. But this one, I just couldn't get into it. Oh boy! There it is.
No,
it's not a show to Brian knocking shit over.
But I enjoyed the movie. The lady got bored and fell asleep. Bored, fell asleep, had zero interest in it. I enjoyed the movie. I liked it. But to me, it is literally just you're just watching Clooney and Pitt, interact with each other. I think they've got very good comedic timing between the two of them. I like the way they play off of each other. So I enjoyed it. But the plot is very thin. Yeah. There's not much to the story. So if you're not going to enjoy it for that, then there's really not much else to chew on for that for that show.
When she fell asleep, your lady fell asleep. Did that make it easier for you to rub one out to Pitt and Clooney? I know. I'm sorry.
Grow up.
What are you watching, Brian?
So we finished watching Game of Thrones. We watched some shit. But I will say this: earlier today, I watched a movie that I had been put on my radar a while ago. Civil War with Kirsten Dunst.
Kirsten Dunst.
Fucking terrible. Utterly boring. Truly boring. I mean, the idea that they call it a dystopian thriller. It is basically the United States goes through civil war. Various militias from different states take up arms against the federal government, and Kirsten Dunn and some other people who are members of the press decide that they're going to go to Washington, D.C., where, quote unquote, press are killed on sight, because they are viewed unfriendly by the current president. There's a lot of allusions to Trump-like levels of dictatorship and fascism they're going for. I just felt that this could have really been so much interesting. Could have been so much. It could have been so much better in terms of telling the story of how America has broken. Instead, it really was there were just so many scenes of Kirsten Dunst just looking up forlornly off into the distance, snapping a photo.
What's the last name of that actress?
Dunst.
Kirsten Dunst.
Oh, I'm the Dunst. I'm the Dunst. Is it really Kirsten Dunst? So who was I thinking? Kirsten Dunst?
I have no idea.
Yeah, Kirsten Dunst. I'm the Dunst. Okay. All right. Okay. But I very disappointed in it. I was really because they really don't touch on what happened, what caused America, the republic to fall apart. They don't really go into the details of, what's the federal government stance on things? It really is just, did you see it? You watched it, I assume?
I did see it. I mean, I thought it was interesting. So what the premise seems to be, and you kind of have to pay attention to some of the news reports. So, Ron Swanson, who's the actor that played Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec?
Ron's. Oh yeah, I'll look it up right now.
So he is the president of the United States.
Correct.
So,
Nick Offerman. Nick Offerman.
Thank you. So what the premise appears to be is that Nick Offerman is president. He has been president for 2 terms. He has kept himself in power for a 3rd term by not peacefully relinquishing power of the presidency, and that is what caused the Civil War. But yeah, it was very disjointed. I thought the character development a little weak. Again, it was watchable, but not as bad as Wolves. I would watch Civil War again before I watch Wolves completely.
I think I completely disagree with you. I feel like Siskel and Ebert right now, and you are completely wrong. You're in the wrong here. In the wrong. Ron's wrong.
Brian, you ignorant slut.
Watch your words. Watch your words. We don't use that term here.
All right.
You can call me ignorant if you want.
Before we run out of time here, we did want to also revisit another segment that people love called Fuck Around and Find Out. Our first story, we were going out to Colorado. Tina Peters was a former Colorado county clerk. She was sentenced this week for her crimes behind a data breach scheme spawned from false claims about voting machine fraud in the 2020 presidential race. She had been the county clerk for Mesa County. She apparently allowed a man to misuse a security card to access the Mesa County election system, and for being deceptive about that person's identity. She was arrested a couple of years ago. And of course, the video then went viral because she reacted as most middle-aged white women do when they're being arrested, as, I'm in pain. Don't arrest me. I'm innocent. And
I've done nothing wrong.
She was very much not innocent. She was convicted and sentenced to 9 years. I have some clips, though, from her sentencing.
I love it when you have clips.
She really doubled down on a lot of craziness. So let's pull this up here, and this clip's about 1.5 minutes. Let's take a listen.
I'm very taken back by how awful I've been depicted when I was just trying to do my job. The people expected me to do. When I look at the people that have spoken here today and asking for harsh sentences, I'm just appalled. I feel bad for them, because I know I've often said God doesn't like people messing with his kids. And I believe I'm a child of God. And I believe that it was important for someone to stand up. And I chose to do that. I have health problems that would not be treatable in the Department of Corrections. First of all, I need a magnetic mattress. I've been on that since 1995. I was in 2 rear end collisions in 84 and 2010. It was pretty severe. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I don't know if you can zoom in a little bit, and chronic fatigue as a result. And I had to stop working for the airlines in 1995. I was up all night because I was in bed all day. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't control these symptoms until I got, believe it or not, a magnetic mattress of which I still sleep on. I will not have that at the Department of Corrections.
So I broke a lot of laws, but I'm a good person. I'm a child of God, and I should have a magnetic mattress.
Well, I think it's just the idea of it is just this level of denial that whatever behavior you have, whatever actions you've taken, if you believe that they were right, let's prioritize that over what the criminal code says about those actions. Right. She starts with that argument, which was, I believe, and I believe in what I was doing. Well, so does the guy who's robbing the bank. He believes that he's doing it because he wants to make a lot of money that he doesn't have right now. That is not a legal defense. The next one of, well, I shouldn't be sent to prison because, well, I have a medical condition. That should not be a get out of jail free card, literally, pardon the pun. But it's just like, oh, you should have thought about that before you said to yourself, am I committing a crime here? What happens if I'm found guilty? Oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. But it is just, there's such a delusion here in, and also just bringing up religion. Listen, I understand that, we live on the elite coast and we don't necessarily embrace, a God in our everyday life and whatnot. But to sit there and be like, well, I think I'm one of God's children, so therefore I shouldn't have to go to jail. It's just the rationalization of privilege is just wild to me.
Here's another clip. This is from the Daily Mail of her trying to garner some sympathy from the court and the judge not really giving her any.
I'm not a criminal. I've lived my life with honor and honesty, and I don't deserve to go into a prison where other people have committed heinous crimes.
Former Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters broke down in tears as she addressed the court before her sentencing for felony charges related to an election computer breach.
I've never done anything with malice to break the law. I wanted to serve the people in Mesa County.
Peters was convicted on 7 counts of engaging in a security breach by allowing unauthorized access to voting machines. For nearly an hour, she rambled on about false claims regarding the 2020 election that continue to be propped up by conspiracy theorists.
I really do love these people, and whether they recognize it or not, I did my best, but I don't deserve to be in prison. I can do a lot more good out helping people, which is what I'm good at doing. If you tell me I cannot talk about the elections anymore, I won't talk about the elections anymore. I've done my job here.
Tina Peters was sentenced to 9 years in prison for election tampering.
You are no hero, you abused your position, and you're a charlatan who used and is still using your prior position in office to peddle a snake oil that's been proven to be junk time and time again. Your lies are well documented, and these convictions are serious. So it's 8.5 years total, plus the 6 months for a total of 9 years of incarceration.
And again, unapologetic for the 2 years after she was arrested and out on bail. She's doing podcasts. She's doing TV shows. She is playing the victim card. And now she's like, well, now I won't talk about the election anymore.
Correct.
If you don't want me to. And the judge,
well, it's almost just like
her for an hour, finally cut her off and was like, I'm tired of listening to you.
Sure. Well, now it is just like, hey, listen, if you don't like what I've been doing lately, you can tell me to stop now. But when it was considered against the law, I still kept going.
Right. And her lawyer apparently multiple times throughout this trial was like, Tina, just stop talking, Tina. Stop talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also, her actions have cost the local government $1.4 million in legal fees and lost employee time. Her notoriety has incurred, quote, unseen costs for the area, according to the court.
Well, I hope she spends a long time in jail. I hope she does not get out early.
If she continues with that attitude, I can't picture her getting paroled at any point, because she's clearly showing no remorse for her actions.
Let's hope that stays true. I have lost a lot of faith in our judicial system.
Before we wrap things up here, Brian, should we give a plug to friend of the podcast, Dave Hill, for his show at the Soho Playhouse that we saw this past Friday night? Hard to believe it was just Friday night that we were there.
Right. Great show.
What were your thoughts on the show, my friend?
Listen, Dave Hill, an eclectic artist. We were talking over breakfast yesterday. We were talking about all the different mediums that he creates in. Comedian, musician, famed BMX bicyclist. And to be able to, for an hour and a half, I think he does even longer than that, gets up there and really incorporates all the different areas of his repertoire, if you would. If you would. I would say that he, in my own words, I would say that it was utterly masterful. While at the same time, you're sitting there, you're watching a comic genius.
It was, yes, I would agree with that. It was, again, I think you kind of have to enjoy his brand of humor, but he executes it very well. Amazing guitar player. I mean, just some sick riffs that he was playing throughout the night. So just an enjoyable show. I know on this poster we have up on the screen here, it says through October 11th, his residency at Soho Playhouse has actually been extended through November 4th, and he is playing Monday and Friday nights. Tickets available at davehillonline.com.
Yeah, just well done. Well done.
Anything else, Brian, before we wrap this up and we start to get ready for After Dark, which, if we haven't mentioned yet, yes, we do entertain you for an hour plus for free. But if you go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, click in the upper right-hand corner and join our Patreon at the bronze level or higher, you can join our live After Dark, which starts at 9:30. So just a scant 22 minutes from now. Once a month, we hold a pajama party, which we allow all of our Patreon subscribers on with us, and we do a Can You Beat Ron or Can You Beat Brian? This past week, people tried to beat Ron, and they were not successful.
A lot of people are saying that it was the best. A lot of people are saying that it was the best Can You Beat Ron that I've ever put together. I don't want to go that far. I don't want to say that it was. It's just a pleasure entertaining others.
I agree with that. It was entertaining. We appreciate our subscribers, and we would just love to have some more.
Well, I mean, you don't want too many subscribers, because then it kind of dilutes the value of what?
I think we want Brian. We're doing the work here. The work is so important, and to do work, we need that money.
Okay, listen, people. So if you are not subscribed to the show, if you are not participating in our Patreon, you're missing out. And shame on you. Shame on you for that.
And can I just say, the Sunday night football game, Dallas at Pittsburgh, delayed due to lightning so far. I remember back in our day, they played in any type of weather: lightning, monsoon, hurricane, blizzard. I don't know. It's the softening of America, Brian, is what it is.
We've gotten soft, and it's just shameful. Shameful, I tell you.
A bunch of white tower elite liberals sitting around with lungs full of fluid, unable to just lift themselves up. It's disgraceful.
It's a shame. It is a shame that this is what this country has become. But at the same time, it may be raining outside, but we are still going to go strong. We're doing our After Dark.
Yes, we will. So we're going to wrap this up. And anything else before we end episode 324?
Yeah, I think we're good to go.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We will catch you all next week.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again